Welcome to my bold and beautiful today's show channel. I hope today fantastic for everyone. Please hit the subscribes button and give this video thumbs up. Carter's heart is ripped to shreds by Hope's brutal final rejection. After the Forrester coup disaster, Hope's soul-crushing rejection leaves Carter devastated. The heartbreaking fallout from Hope Logan and Carter Walton's failed corporate takeover has reached a devastating climax, and it's even worse than we predicted. Hope delivered a rejection that was so brutal that it might just have been the most crushing blow Carter has ever received in an emotionally charged confrontation that left viewers clutching their tissues. When Carter realized that it was indeed over, let's rewind to how we got here, shall we? Carter made one last desperate plea to save his relationship with Hope after their daring attempt to take control of Forrester Creations failed spectacularly. Talk about inadequate timing. The last straw. That fateful moment during the Forrester showdown when Hope urged Carter to walk away from the company with her in solidarity. But what did he do? Hesitated. While Hope stood ready to burn everything down for their relationship, Carter couldn't bring himself to close the door on his long-standing relationship with the Forresters. That split second of hesitation spoke volumes. Carter wouldn't give up everything for Hope, as Hope saw it clearly. And once that realization hit, there was absolutely no going back. Steffi and Ridge warned him, but did Carter listen? Remember when Steffi Forrester Finnegan and Ridge Forrester practically begged Carter to see the truth? They warned him repeatedly that Hope's sudden interest was conveniently timed with his rise in power at Forrester. But did he take it in? Nope. They told him, Hope is using you as a means to an end. Carter, on the other hand, dismissed their concerns as nothing more than another chapter in the never-ending Forrester versus Logan saga. The man was absolutely blinded by what he thought was love. The bold and the beautiful spoilers. Hope cuts Carter's heart to shreds with brutal final rejection. Hope Logan delivers a soul-crushing final rejection to Carter Walton after their failed corporate coup, leaving the once powerful COO devastated and alone with no path to redemption. Published 18 hours ago on April 26, 2025 by Nancy Bannister. Hope devastating rejection. Carter. Hope's soul-crushing rejection leaves Carter devastated after Forrester coup disaster. The heartbreaking fallout from Hope Logan and Carter Walton's failed corporate takeover has reached a devastating climax, and it's even worse than we predicted. In an emotionally charged confrontation that left viewers clutching their tissues, Hope delivered a rejection so brutal it might just be the most crushing blow Carter has ever faced. The moment Carter realized it was truly over. Let's rewind to how we got here, shall we? After their audacious attempt to seize control of Forrester Creations imploded spectacularly, Carter made one last desperate plea to salvage what was left of his relationship with Hope. Talk about too little, too late. The final straw. That fateful moment during the Forrester showdown when Hope urged Carter to walk away from the company with her in solidarity. But what did he do? Hesitated. While Hope stood ready to burn everything down for their relationship, Carter couldn't bring himself to close the door on his long-standing relationship with the Forresters. That split second of hesitation spoke volumes. Hope saw the truth with crystal clarity. Carter wouldn't sacrifice everything for her. And once that realization hit, there was absolutely no going back. Carter was alerted by Steffi and Ridge, but did he listen? Remember when Steffi Forrester Finnegan and Ridge Forrester practically begged Carter to see the truth? They warned him repeatedly that Hope's sudden interest was conveniently timed with his rise in power at Forrester. But did he listen? Nope. Hope is using you as a means to an end, they told him. But Carter dismissed their concerns as just another chapter in the never-ending Forrester versus Logan saga. What he thought was love completely blinded the man. See also. B&B spoilers. Liam moves into Steffi and Finn's home as Hope grows suspicious. Now, as Steffi and Ridge predicted, Hope has completely shut the door on any possibility of reconciliation. When Carter desperately tried to piece things back together, Hope didn't just reject him, she crushed any remaining hope he had. She made it painfully clear their relationship was nothing but collateral damage in this corporate war, and she has zero interest in rebuilding from the ashes. The devastating emotional fallout. Let me tell you, the look on Carter's face when he realized it was truly over. Absolutely heartbreaking. Lawrence St. Victor delivered a performance that had me reaching for tissues. Carter is left with nothing after giving up his integrity, his reputation, and his decades-long relationship with the Forresters. The once mighty COO now wanders the halls of Forrester Creations like a ghost of his former self. The Forresters have graciously allowed him to keep his job, but he's essentially on probation, stripped of any real power or influence. If that's not a fall from grace, I don't know what is. Meanwhile, Hope isn't exactly thriving either. Her professional life lies in ruins after Steffi cancelled hope for the future, effectively ending her career at the company. The fashion line she poured her heart and soul into, gone. Her reputation in the industry, shattered. Her relationship with Carter, destroyed. What's next for these star-crossed lovers? Will Carter eventually find a way to redeem himself in the eyes of the Forresters? It is conceivable, but it will not be simple. Ridge made it abundantly clear that Carter will not be given a second chance if he violates the rules again. As for Hope, she's shut the door on Carter completely, but something tells me she might come to regret her harsh rejection. With her career in shambles and personal crises mounting, who will she turn to when she needs support the most? Could these two possibly find their way back to each other once the dust settles? In true soap fashion, never say never, but right now, that possibility seems as remote as Sheila Carter winning a Mother of the Year award. The emotional repercussions of this powerful corporate coup and heartbreaking rejection will undoubtedly continue to reverberate throughout the corridors of Forrester Creations for several weeks to come. And every dramatic moment will be watched by me, personally. Daphne makes another big move. The roaring success of the Forrester Creations fashion show leaves nearly everyone on an emotional high, and that includes Carter and Daphne. Carter is just thrilled that Ridge likes him again, and has been welcomed back into the Forrester family fold. He might not have hope at the moment, but all is right with the rest of his world. Daphne feels a rush after the show and wants to hang around for more because she didn't realize just how fun they can be. When Daphne and Carter discuss how wonderfully everything went, Daphne gets caught up in the moment and kisses Carter again, but does he respond? Whether he does or not, neither one knows that they were spotted. Katie spies the little scene and is furious. She wants Daphne to remove her claws from Carter because she is aware of what she is up to. She is as determined to see Carter and Hope become a couple as Brooke is to believe that they are meant to be together. Katie has Daphne's number now and is about to make her life very difficult, indeed. Steffi and Taylor fume. Two women who are decidedly not happy after the fashion show are Taylor and Steffi. They were surprised to see Brooke walk down the runway in that jaw-dropping wedding gown, and they are determined to find out how that happened. When they learn what Eric had planned for that gown Ridge designed, they are furious and let their feelings be known. Taylor is not about to let Brooke get her hands on Ridge again and finally understands why Brooke was so determined to get out of that vault before the show ended. She wishes in part that no one came to rescue them. Taylor is holding on to Ridge by a thread now that he knows Brooke didn't really betray him. At least she has Steffi on her side to lament to, but Steffi might have other concerns waiting at home. The Bold and the Beautiful's heartbreaking unraveling of Hope and Carter, a story of ambition, betrayal, and broken dreams in the glittering, cutthroat world of The Bold and the Beautiful, where power dynamics shift as swiftly as the Los Angeles tides. The catastrophic fallout between Hope Logan and Carter Walton has erupted into a seismic event, leaving fans gasping for breath. The duo's ill-fated corporate coup at Forrester Creations, a desperate gambit to seize control from the reigning Forrester dynasty, has culminated in a soul-crushing rejection so visceral it feels like a dagger to the heart of every viewer. This isn't merely a breakup, it's an emotional annihilation, a Shakespearean tragedy played out in designer suits and whispered betrayals. As the dust settles on the ashes of their failed rebellion, the aftermath reveals a landscape scarred by shattered loyalties, professional ruin, and the haunting question, was any of it ever real? The moment Carter realized it was truly over, a hesitation that echoed through eternity. The powder keg moment that sparked Hope's final rejection must be revisited in order to comprehend its gravity. Picture the opulent Forrester boardroom, a cathedral of high fashion and higher stakes, where the air crackled with tension. Hope had just made her most daring move yet, urging Carter to leave the empire he had served for decades and walk away with her, hand in hand, into an uncertain future, her cerulean eyes blazing with a mix of desperation and defiance. She had pleaded, "We don't need them," her voice shaking with a vulnerability that the normally composed Logan rarely displayed. "We can construct something on our own." But Carter, ever the loyal soldier, his identity intertwined with Forrester's marble halls, hesitated. A heartbeat. A flicker of doubt. That was all it took. Hope's expression changed from hopeful lover to ice-cold strategist in that split second. Carter's loyalty to the Forresters, the family that had supported him through scandal and heartbreak, outweighed his love for her, she realized. For Hope, whose entire life has been a battle for validation in the shadow of the Forrester-Logan feud, this hesitation wasn't just a betrayal, it was an existential wound. "You chose them," she spat, her voice laced with a venom that left Carter reeling. "After everything I gave you, after everything we risked," the question arose, had their nights of whispered promises and stolen kisses only served as a means to an end? Carter's stammered protests, "Hope, wait, let me explain," fell on deaf ears. With a final, glacial stare, she turned on her heel, leaving him stranded in the wreckage of their shared ambition. Steffi and Ridge's prophetic warnings, the Cassandra curse of Forrester creations. Long before the coup collapsed, Steffi Forrester Finnegan and Ridge Forrester had sounded the alarm, their voices dripping with disdain and decades-old grudges. "Open your eyes, Carter." During a secret meeting in his office, Ridge barked as the Los Angeles skyline stretched out behind him like an oblivious audience. "Since when does Hope Logan chase after someone who isn't holding the keys to the kingdom?" Steffi, ever the pragmatist, had been even blunter. "She's using you. The second you're no longer useful, she'll drop you like last season's collection." But Carter, ensnared in the gilded cage of his infatuation, dismissed their cautions as paranoid theatrics. He had retorted, his trademark calm fraying at the edges. "You're just threatened because a Logan is finally calling the shots," he had said. In his mind, this was more than a power play, it was a love story, a chance to rewrite his narrative from perpetual bridesmaid to leading man. The fact that Steffi and Ridge's warnings proved to be accurate was tragically ironic. When Carter limped back to Forrester Creations, his tail between his legs, it was Steffi who met him at the elevator, her smirk a silent "I told you so." Ghosts in the hallways, the devastating emotional aftermath. A masterclass in emotional devastation follows Hope's rejection. Carter, once the unflappable COO whose mere presence commanded respect, now haunts Forrester Creations like a specter. St. Victor's performance is a tour de force. His eyes, once warm and confident, now hollow pools of regret. His posture, once regal, now slumped under the weight of humiliation. In a poignant scene, he finds himself lingering outside Hope's shuttered office, fingertips brushing the nameplate she's since ripped down. The fact that she has erased him is unmistakably gut-wrenching, and the symbolism is not subtle. Meanwhile, Hope's descent is no less tragic. Her brainchild, Hope for the Future, lies in ruins, its cancellation by Steffi a merciless stroke of revenge. As Brooke watches, torn between maternal concern and simmering rage, she collapses onto the sofa of her empty beach house in a rare moment of vulnerability, clutching a tumbler of whiskey. "Was it worthwhile?" Brooke demands in a trembling voice. Hope's reply, a whisper choked with tears, cuts deeper than any scream, "I don't know anymore." The ripple effect, broken alliances and rising conflicts. The coup's fallout extends far beyond the central duo. Thomas Forrester, Hope's former collaborator who used to be obsessed, sits back and watches with a mix of regret and anxiety. His recent arc of redemption is on the verge of collapse. One bad move could send him back into darkness. Across town, Liam Spencer, ever the opportunistic conscience, hovers near Steffi like a moth to flame, his concern for Hope masking a deeper, more self-serving agenda. Even players on the sidelines are affected. Donna Logan, typically a beacon of optimism, confronts Eric Forrester over his tacit approval of Carter's demotion. "He's my family," she implores, but Eric's steely resolve, a reminder that beneath the grandfatherly veneer lies a titan of industry, shuts her down. "He made his bed," Eric intones, his disappointment a heavier blow than any boardroom vote. What's next, redemption or ruin? As the dust settles, the question looms, can either of these broken souls rise from the ashes? The road to redemption for Carter is bumpy. Ridge's probation is less a lifeline than a gilded cage, every board meeting a minefield, every interaction with Steffi a fresh humiliation. However, there are rumors that a baffling investor is eyeing Forrester stock, which suggests that Carter may yet come across an unlikely ally. Could this be the return of Bill Spencer, ever the wild card? Or perhaps Sheila Carter, whose chaotic energy could reignite the flames? Hope's trajectory is murkier. With her career in tatters, she's adrift, until a cryptic offer arrives from an upstart rival fashion house. But can she rebuild without becoming the very manipulator her enemies accuse her of being? And what of Douglas, her son, caught in the crossfire of adult vendettas? A custody battle with Thomas could be the next battlefield, dragging the Logans and Forresters into yet another war. Themes of power and identity, a mirror to our world. This saga reflects timeless themes at its core, such as the seductive allure of power, trust's fragility, and the masks we put on for validation. Carter's tragedy lies in his belief that love could transcend his role as a corporate pawn, a delusion Hope weaponized, knowingly or not. Her brutality, meanwhile, exposes the cost of growing up in a dynasty where affection is transactional and loyalty a currency. In the end, the bold and the beautiful serves as a reminder to us that the most devastating cuts in the glittering world of high fashion and higher drama are not made with scissors. Rather, they are carved with words, glances, and the unbearable weight of what could have been. As Carter wanders Forrester's halls, a ghost of his former self, and Hope stares into the abyss of her choices, viewers are left to wonder. In a world where love and ambition are eternally at odds, can anyone emerge unscathed? The fallout from Hope Logan's devastating rejection of Carter Walton after their disastrous corporate coup attempt at Forrester Creations unfolded with an intensity that left viewers reeling, a heart-shattering moment marked by anguish, betrayal, and the irrevocable end of a relationship that once seemed poised to defy the odds. We can see that the road to this gut-wrenching confrontation was not just one moment, but rather 1,000 small fractures that culminated in an emotional landslide that swept over Hope and Carter like a tsunami of regret and loss. After their bold but ill-fated plan to wrestle control of Forrester Creations failed spectacularly, Hope and Carter stood amid the wreckage, their futures uncertain and their relationship teetering on the brink. Carter, ever the optimist when it came to love, clung desperately to the idea that he and Hope could weather this storm together, believing that the bond they had built would be enough to survive even this monumental setback. But the truth, as Hope saw it, was far crueler. The seeds of destruction had been sown not just in the corporate betrayal, but in that pivotal moment during the Forrester showdown when Hope turned to Carter, her eyes blazing with passion and loyalty, and begged him to walk away from the company, to choose her over everything else. And Carter, faithful, dependable Carter, hesitated. That brief flicker of doubt, that split-second pause, spoke louder than any words ever could. In that instant, Hope realized that Carter's heart would never belong to her completely, that he was still tethered to the Forresters in a way she could never compete with, and it shattered her. From that moment on, something inside Hope hardened, the final vestiges of hope, no pun intended, withering away until all that remained was a deep, aching void. Steffi and Ridge had seen it coming from a mile away. They had warned Carter repeatedly, practically pleading with him to open his eyes to the possibility that Hope's sudden, intense interest coinciding with his rise in power at Forrester Creations was not a mere coincidence but a calculated move. They tried to tell him that Hope, still reeling from her own personal and professional failures, saw Carter not as a true partner but as a stepping stone, a means to reclaim her dwindling influence in the company. But Carter, blinded by his own desperate need for love and validation, brushed aside their concerns, dismissing them as yet another round in the endless Forrester versus Logan feud. In doing so, he sealed his own fate. By the time he realized the extent of his miscalculation, it was far too late. The corporate coup collapsed under its own weight, leaving careers in ruins and relationships scorched beyond recognition. And when Carter, heart in hand, approached Hope for reconciliation, she didn't just reject him, she obliterated him. Hope's rejection was not a soft, gentle letdown. It was a soul-crushing, brutal severance delivered with a cold finality that left no room for doubt or second chances. Standing in the deserted halls of Forrester Creations, the very ground where they had once plotted their future together, Hope told Carter in no uncertain terms that whatever they had shared was over, finished, dead. She made it clear that he was nothing more than collateral damage in a war she had long since lost interest in fighting, that she had no intention of picking up the broken pieces of their relationship. And the look on Carter's face, that raw, naked heartbreak, was almost too much to bear. Lawrence St. Victor poured every ounce of anguish into his performance, delivering a portrayal so powerful, so visceral, that even the most hardened viewers found themselves reaching for tissues. This wasn't just a man losing a lover, it was a man losing his very sense of self. Carter, who had given up everything for Hope, his integrity, his reputation, his lifelong bond with the Forresters, found himself utterly alone, stripped of everything he once held dear. The emotional fallout was devastating. Carter, once the proud and respected COO of Forrester Creations, was now a shadow of his former self. Though Ridge and Steffi, perhaps out of a grudging sense of pity, allowed him to keep his job, his power and influence were effectively gutted. He wandered the halls like a ghost, a man out of place in a world he once helped build. And Hope? She fared no better. After Steffi, wielding her newfound authority, cancelled hope for the future, Hope's professional life disintegrated before her eyes. The fashion line she had poured her soul into, the legacy she had hoped to leave behind, was wiped away in an instant. Her reputation, painstakingly crafted over years of hard work, lay in tatters. She had gambled everything on a risky power play and lost. And now, with Carter gone and her career in ruins, Hope found herself adrift, more isolated than ever before. And yet, in true soap opera fashion, the story doesn't end there. Enter Daphne, a whirlwind of energy and ambition, who saw in Carter a man ripe for the picking. At the roaringly successful Forrester Creations fashion show, where nearly everyone basked in the glow of victory, Carter found himself momentarily buoyed by the unexpected acceptance of Ridge and the others. For a brief, shining moment, it seemed like he might claw his way back into their good graces. Daphne, caught up in the excitement, seized the opportunity to plant a kiss on Carter, a bold move that left him stunned. Did Carter kiss her back? That remains a matter of debate. What matters is that they were seen by none other than Katie Logan, who watched the scene unfold with a mixture of fury and determination. Katie, fiercely protective of Carter, immediately smelled a rat. She knew Daphne was trouble and vowed to make life very difficult for the new interloper. Meanwhile, Taylor and Steffi found themselves grappling with a different kind of outrage. Watching Brooke parade down the runway in a showstopper wedding gown designed by Ridge was a bitter pill to swallow. It was a public declaration that Brooke's bond with Ridge remained unbroken, that their connection still had the power to upend everything. Taylor, who had clung to the hope that Brooke's betrayal had finally severed that bond, now realized she was fighting a losing battle. Her resentment simmered, a slow, burning anger that would undoubtedly find a target soon. Steffi, loyal to her mother to the end, vowed to help Taylor reclaim Ridge once and for all. But at what cost? Already the seeds of future conflict were being sown, promising more drama, more heartbreak, more betrayal. As for Carter and Hope, their paths now seemed destined to diverge. Carter, broken but not entirely defeated, faced the long, painful road to redemption. Whether he could ever fully regain the trust of the Forresters remained to be seen. Ridge's warning had been clear: there would be no second chances if Carter faltered again. Hope, on the other hand, stood at a crossroads, her life in shambles, her future uncertain. She had slammed the door on Carter with brutal finality, but soap operas thrive on second chances, on twists of fate that bring former lovers back together when least expected. Could there still be a future for Hope and Carter amid the wreckage? Or had too much damage been done? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: the emotional aftershocks from this explosive series of events will reverberate through Forrester Creations for months, if not years, to come.